Let me know if you want any tweaks. Ray of hope. You ever been in a storm so bad you thought the sun forgot how to shine? The kind where the clouds roll in thick, the rain pounds down, and it feels like you're standing alone in the dark? Yeah, life does that sometimes. But here's the thing, storms don't last forever. They never do. Maybe you're in one right now. Maybe the weight of the world is sitting on your shoulders, making it hard to breathe. Maybe you're tired, real tired, of trying so hard and still feeling stuck. I hear you, I see you, but let me tell you something. Just because you can't see the sun doesn't mean it's not there. Just because today feels impossible doesn't mean tomorrow won't bring something better. Hope? It's a funny thing. It's quiet, almost like a whisper. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention, but it's there, even in the smallest moments. A kind word, a deep breath, the first light of morning breaking through the night. And if you're thinking, I don't have any hope left, borrow some. Borrow it from the people who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. Borrow it from the stories of others who made it through. Borrow it from me, right now, telling you that you are stronger than you think. Because you are. You've survived every bad day you've ever had, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every moment where you thought you couldn't keep going, yet here you are, still standing, still breathing. And if that's not proof of your strength, I don't know what is. So hold on, just a little longer. The storm will pass, the clouds will break, and when they do, you'll see it. That first golden ray of hope shining just for you. And when you do, step into it. Keep going. You're closer than you think. Life has a way of throwing storms at us when we least expect them. Sometimes these storms are small, little inconveniences, moments of frustration, or setbacks that delay our plans. Other times they're massive, overwhelming, and relentless. They shake our foundation, test our resilience, and make us question everything we thought we knew. In those moments, it's easy to believe the storm will never pass, that the darkness will never lift, and that we will always be stuck in this place of pain, uncertainty, or struggle. But no storm lasts forever. Imagine standing in the middle of a thunderstorm. The sky is dark, the wind is howling, and the rain is coming down in sheets. Everything feels chaotic, unpredictable, and beyond your control. It's hard to see more than a few feet ahead, and even harder to imagine a time when the sky will clear again. But no matter how fierce the storm, no matter how long it lasts, it will eventually run its course. The winds will die down, the rain will stop, and the sun will break through the clouds once more. Nature itself teaches us this truth over and over again. The seasons change, the tides shift, and the sun rises after every night. Nothing stays the same forever, not even the hardest, most painful moments of our lives. What feels unbearable today will eventually soften, fade, or transform into something else. What seems endless will one day be a memory, a story of something you once endured. When you're in the middle of a personal storm, though, it's hard to see beyond the immediate struggle. Pain has a way of distorting time, making it feel as though the suffering will stretch on indefinitely. But history proves otherwise. Think about every difficult moment you've faced in the past: heartbreak, loss, failure, disappointment. At the time, it may have felt like you'd never get through it, like the weight of it would crush you. And yet, here you are. You survived. The pain may have changed you, but it didn't destroy you. People often believe that the storm they're facing is different, that this time it won't pass, that this time the darkness is permanent. That's never true. The mind plays tricks on us in hard times, convincing us that our struggles are unique in their permanence. But if there's one thing you can be sure of, it's that nothing in life is truly permanent. Not success, not failure, not happiness, not sadness. everything is in motion, always changing. Even when it feels like you're standing still, the world is shifting around you, carrying you forward in ways you may not even notice yet. It's easy to get caught up in the intensity of the storm, to let the fear and doubt take over. It's natural to feel exhausted, hopeless, or even defeated when everything seems to be working against you. But perspective is everything. If you can take a step back and remind yourself that this moment, however painful, is temporary, you create space for hope, and hope is what carries you through. Think about the toughest moments in history, the darkest times humanity has faced. Wars, disasters, struggles that seemed insurmountable, and yet people made it through. They found ways to rebuild, to heal, to grow every time. If they could do it, so can you. The most difficult part of any storm is the waiting, the uncertainty of when it will end, the not knowing how much longer you have to endure. But even when you can't see the end, it's there. Just beyond your line of sight, just past the horizon, the storm is losing its strength. You just have to hold on long enough to see it through. And when the storm does pass, when the sky clears and the sun shines again, you'll look back and realize just how strong you were. You'll see that every challenge, every setback, every painful moment was shaping you, teaching you, preparing you for what comes next. You may not see it now, but one day you will. Hope is one of those things that often feels elusive, especially in the moments when we need it the most. It's easy to hold on to hope when life is going well, when things are falling into place, when the road ahead is clear and promising. But when things go wrong, when challenges arise, when uncertainty takes over, hope can feel distant, almost invisible. It's in those moments that we start to question whether hope even exists at all. But the truth is, hope is always there, even when we can't see it. Think about the sky on a cloudy day. When the clouds are thick and heavy, the sun seems to disappear. It's easy to look up and believe that the sun is gone, that the sky is only gray, that the warmth and light we once felt no longer exist. But we know better. We know that above those clouds, the sun is still shining, just as bright as ever. We know that the clouds will eventually shift, break apart, and reveal what was always there. Hope works the same way. It doesn't disappear when things get hard. It simply becomes harder to see. But just because something isn't visible doesn't mean it isn't real. Hope is quiet. It's not always loud or obvious. It doesn't always come in grand, sweeping gestures or life-changing moments. Sometimes it's a whisper, a small sign, a tiny shift in perspective. It's in the little things, the way the morning light filters through your window, the unexpected kindness of a stranger, the way a song reminds you of something beautiful. Hope is in the way a new day begins, no matter how dark the night before was. It's in the laughter that finds you, even in the middle of grief. It's in the way time keeps moving, carrying you forward, even when you feel stuck. People often think hope has to be something big, something extraordinary, but sometimes the smallest glimmers of hope are the most powerful. A single flicker of light in a dark room can change everything. A single moment of encouragement, a single reminder that you are not alone, can make all the difference. Hope is not always about knowing exactly how things will get better. It's simply believing that they can. Even when you can't feel hope, it is still there, woven into the fabric of the world around you. It's in nature, the way flowers bloom after the harshest winters, the way trees stand tall even after losing all their leaves. It's in the stories of people who have faced unimaginable challenges and still found a way forward. It's in the way the ocean waves keep crashing against the shore, relentless and unyielding, no matter how many times they are pulled back. Hope is persistent. It doesn't give up, even when everything else seems to. Sometimes hope doesn't come from within. Sometimes it comes from others. There will be times when you can't find hope on your own, when everything feels too heavy, too overwhelming. And in those times, it's okay to lean on someone else's hope, to borrow their belief when yours is running low, to let their faith in you, in life, in the possibility of something better carry you through. Hope is not something we are meant to hold alone. It is something we share, something we pass to one another when the weight becomes too much. History is full of moments where hope seemed impossible, yet it endured. People have faced wars, loss, injustice, and heartbreak, yet somehow they have continued. They have rebuilt, they have healed, they have found ways to keep going. That is proof that hope is not just wishful thinking. It is real, it is powerful, and it is always present, even when we struggle to recognize it. Sometimes hope is simply the decision to take one more step, to breathe one more breath, to believe in the possibility of change even when you can't see it yet. It is a choice, made again and again, even in the face of doubt. It is a quiet strength, a resilience that refuses to be extinguished. It is what keeps people fighting, dreaming, loving, even when the world tries to convince them otherwise. Hope is not about denying reality or pretending that things are easy. It is about acknowledging the struggle, but refusing to believe that the struggle is all there is. Hope exists in the spaces between the pain, in the pauses between the storms. It is in the moments of stillness, in the deep breath you take before trying again, in the way the world continues moving forward no matter how stuck you feel. It is in the reminder that nothing stays the same forever, that change is always possible, that healing is always within reach. It is in the way the night is always followed by the morning, no matter how long the darkness lasts. It is in the stories of survival, of perseverance, of people who have walked through fire and come out on the other side. Even when everything feels uncertain, even when you don't know what's next, hope is there. It is patient. It waits for you. It lingers in the spaces you might not think to look. It does not demand your attention, but it is always willing to be found. Hope is not about knowing the future. It is about trusting that the future holds possibilities beyond what you can see right now. It is about understanding that even in your hardest moments, you are never truly alone. It is about remembering that even the longest, darkest nights eventually give way to dawn. There are moments in life when hope feels impossible to find, when everything seems to be falling apart, when the weight of the world presses down so hard that it becomes difficult to even breathe. Hope can feel like a distant memory, something that belonged to a different version of you, a version that hadn't yet been broken by disappointment, loss, or hardship. In those moments, it's easy to believe that hope is something you either have or you don't, that once it slips away, there's no getting it back. But that's not true. Hope is not something you have to create all on your own. When yours runs low, you can borrow it. Borrowing hope means allowing yourself to lean on the belief of others when you can't seem to find any belief within yourself. It means recognizing that even when you feel lost, there are people who see a way forward for you, even if you can't see it yet. It's in the way a friend tells you, you're going to get through this, and even if you don't believe them in the moment, you let their words carry you. It's in the way a stranger shares their story of overcoming something you never thought was survivable, and for a second you wonder if maybe, just maybe, you could survive too. Hope is not something you have to hold alone. It exists between people, passed from one to another, a quiet but powerful force that keeps moving even when we feel like standing still. It's in the way a parent holds on to the dream of a better future for their child, even when circumstances seem bleak. It's in the way a teacher believes in a struggling student who has stopped believing in themselves. It's in the way a loved one continues to remind you of your worth, even on the days when you feel like you have none left. Sometimes we are not strong enough to carry our own hope, but someone else can carry it for us, just long enough for us to find our footing again. There is no shame in needing to borrow hope. Life is heavy. It tests people in ways they never could have expected, in ways that don't seem fair, and no one is meant to get through it alone. Everyone at some point needs to be reminded that light still exists, that there is still a reason to keep going. There is a reason that humans tell stories, that we pass down words of resilience and survival. It's because deep down we know that hope is not just personal, it's collective. It is something we share with one another, something that has been carried across generations, across struggles, across time. Think about the people who came before you, the ones who faced hardships you will never fully understand, yet still found a way to push forward. Their hope is what allowed you to be here today. Maybe they didn't always believe in their own strength, but someone believed in them. Maybe they had days where they wanted to give up, but someone reminded them why they shouldn't. That same hope, the one that has kept people moving forward for centuries, is available to you too. You don't have to create it from nothing. You just have to reach for it. Borrowing hope doesn't mean pretending everything is okay when it's not. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to be optimistic when you're struggling. It simply means allowing yourself to be open to the possibility that something better exists beyond this moment. It means accepting the love, encouragement, and faith of those around you, even when you don't feel like you deserve it. It means reminding yourself that just because you can't see the way forward doesn't mean there isn't one. Sometimes borrowing hope comes in the form of stories. The story of someone who survived an illness you are now facing. The story of someone who rebuilt their life after losing everything. The story of someone who once stood where you are now, convinced they had no future, only to find out they were wrong. These stories matter because they prove that struggle is not the end of the road, that pain is not permanent, that even the heaviest burdens can be lifted, even if you need help carrying them for a while. Other times, borrowing hope comes from the simple presence of another person, a friend who sits with you in silence, not offering solutions, just offering themselves. A mentor who tells you, "I've been there, and I promise you, this won't last forever." A stranger who smiles at you on a day when you feel invisible. These moments may seem small, but they are proof that hope exists even in the smallest gestures. It's easy to believe that needing help means weakness, that struggling to hold on to hope means you've failed in some way. But the truth is, borrowing hope is an act of strength. It means you are still here, still looking for something beyond your pain, still willing to reach for something even when you're not sure what it is. It means you are not letting the darkness win. One day, without even realizing it, the hope you borrowed will become your own again. It will return in the form of a tiny spark, a moment of clarity, a quiet voice inside you saying, "Maybe things can change." And just as others have lent their hope to you, one day you will lend yours to someone else. You will be the one who says, "I know this feels impossible right now, but I promise you'll get through it." You will be the one whose story reminds someone else to keep going. You will be the proof that even when hope runs low, it never truly runs out. It simply waits to be shared. Think back to the hardest moments of your life. The times when you felt broken, lost, or completely overwhelmed. Maybe it was the loss of someone you loved. Maybe it was the day everything you had planned fell apart in an instant. Maybe it was the moment you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. Whatever it was, you felt like you wouldn't make it through. The pain was too heavy, the fear too consuming, the uncertainty too paralyzing. Yet here you are, still standing, maybe scarred, maybe changed, but still here. People often underestimate their own resilience. They assume that because they struggled, because they felt weak in the moment, that they were not strong. But strength is not about never struggling. It is not about never feeling afraid or never having moments of doubt. Strength is in the simple act of continuing, of putting one foot in front of the other even when you don't know where the path will lead. It is in the moments when you wanted to give up but didn't. It is in the fact that you have faced pain before and still found ways to move forward. There were days you thought you wouldn't survive, but you did. There were times you thought the pain would never fade, but it did. There were situations that felt permanent, but they weren't. If you've been through darkness before and found your way back to the light, what makes this time any different? The mind has a way of convincing us that each new struggle is the worst, that this time we won't be able to handle it, that this time we are not strong enough. But that's never true. If anything, every hardship has made you stronger, has shaped you in ways you may not even fully understand yet. Strength is not about avoiding hardship, but about facing it and continuing to move despite it. It's in the days when you get up, even when you don't want to. It's in the moments when you keep going, even when every part of you wants to stop. It's in the choice to believe, even for a second, that things can change. It's easy to look at others and think they are stronger, more capable, more resilient. But if you could see yourself through the eyes of those who care about you, you would realize how strong you truly are. Pain often makes people forget their past victories. It erases the memory of every mountain they've climbed, every storm they've weathered, every battle they've fought and won. It convinces them that they are weaker than they are, that they have no control, that this time will break them. But if you take a moment to look back at everything you have endured, you will see the undeniable truth. You have survived 100% of your worst days. Strength does not always look like confidence or fearlessness. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when you feel like you can't. Sometimes it looks like asking for help when you're too tired to keep holding everything on your own. Sometimes it looks like simply deciding to try again tomorrow. Every small act of perseverance, every moment you push forward, is proof of the strength that has always been within you. People are often much stronger than they give themselves credit for. They assume that strength means never struggling, never feeling weak, never being afraid. But true strength is found in the moments when you feel all those things and still keep going. It's found in the ability to keep believing in something better, even when everything around you suggests otherwise. It's found in the quiet determination to survive, to heal, to grow, even when the process is painful and slow. The fact that you are here today reading this means you have a history of resilience. You have been tested before, and you have proven yourself stronger than every challenge that has tried to break you. Even if it didn't feel like strength at the time, even if it felt like barely hanging on, it was strength. And that same strength still exists within you now. It did not disappear just because you are facing something new. If anything, it has only grown. There is something powerful about realizing that you have overcome before. That the pain you once thought was unbearable became something you learned to carry. That the nights you thought would never end eventually gave way to morning. That the moments you thought would define you forever eventually became just another chapter in your story. That is the evidence of your resilience. Proof that even in your weakest moments you were stronger than you knew. The mind has a way of convincing us that pain is permanent, that struggle is endless, that we are not capable of handling what comes next. But the mind is often wrong. Feelings of hopelessness are temporary, even when they feel like they will last forever. Struggles come and go, even when they seem like they will never end. What remains constant is your ability to keep moving forward, to keep fighting, to keep choosing life even in its most difficult moments. There is no weakness in struggling. There is no failure in feeling lost. There is no shame in needing time to heal. But none of those things erase the truth. You are still here despite everything. You are still breathing, still hoping, still fighting in whatever way you can, and that alone is proof that you have always been stronger than you think.